Tony, always good to have you. So tell me what you think is going on in China, where it's a more competitive market perhaps than we have certainly here in the U.S., maybe even in Europe. And you're seeing what? That they're starting to export out of China, meaning they don't have a great growth trajectory there?
Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the recent Made in China sales numbers for Tesla that just came out overnight. Okay, Tesla sales plunge with Made in China domestic sales. What we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the articles with the new numbers that were released. And we're also going to go ahead and take a look at my spreadsheet, my chart, and we're going to really try to unpack this a little more and get some understanding behind these numbers. Okay, so this should be a quicker video than normal, but it's going to be a very impactful one, especially for understanding Tesla and the correlation it has with the stock price moving forward. So do us a favor, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and let's get into it. So as mentioned, recently we just got the Tesla Made in China numbers, and they don't look good for China domestic sales. Those numbers plunged. So let's go ahead and take a look at a recent CNBC article that talks a little bit about this, and let's unpack the numbers because maybe there's something we're missing. Let's take a look. Okay, so here we see the headline: Tesla sold 32,968 China-made vehicles in July. Local sales plunge month over month. Okay, so on initial pause, this looks bad, right? So let's go ahead and try to unpack this a little bit. So here we see U.S. electric maker Tesla Inc. sold 32,968 China-made vehicles in July, including 24,347 for export, and the China Passenger Car Association said on Tuesday. Local sales of China-made vehicles plunged 69% to 8,621 cars from the previous 28,000 in June. Tesla sales in the first month of each quarter are usually lower than the following 2 months. The company, which makes Model 3 sedans and Model Y sport utility vehicles in Shanghai, sold 33,155 China-made vehicles in June. Last month, Tesla introduced a cheaper version of Model Y in China, where it faces increased scrutiny from both regulators and the public, growing competition from local rivals. It also lowered the starting price of the Model 3 sedans. And then they talk about China BYD sold 50,000 electric vehicles last month, while General Motors, China, whatever, 27,000. Okay, none of this is important. Okay, so I'm not naive. I know I'm playing it up a little bit like, oh, they plunged and all that. This article, in my opinion, is a difference between an investor and a reporter trying to get some clicks. That's all this is. Okay, this is, in my opinion, pure FUD. So let me scroll back up. This initial headline, local sales plunge month over month, right? This is just to grab an audience to read and, just spur more of this FUD, because they know if it has Tesla on it, it's going to get audience and eyes. Something that apparently Joe Biden didn't know during his EV press conference. It's a foolish mistake on his part. Now, keep in mind, as we move forward, I'm not an investor. I'm just a software systems engineer. That's all I am, an engineer. So what do I know? I don't know anything about finances. I'm just, somebody who went to school for math and science and engineering. But whatever, none of that's important. Okay, so with all that said, do your own homework, do your own research, and let's go ahead and start diving into some of these numbers and making some true sense of this and dismiss all the FUD. Okay, so let me scroll back down here. So 32,968 China-made vehicles in July. This is effectively on par with the last 2 months of China sales. Okay, and at first glance, that seems like maybe that's not great. That is great, because this is the first month of the quarter. The first month of the quarter is historically the worst month. Okay, we'll go into more of that when I show you my spreadsheet and my numbers. Now, when they talk about the local sales of China, it's important to understand a big change that Tesla has recently gone through, and it was announced during the Q1 quarterly earnings, Q2 quarterly earnings. Tesla announced that moving forward, Fremont would no longer be the factory where Tesla exports vehicles from. It will now be Shanghai. Okay, they announced this during their Q2 quarterly earnings call. Notice, no mention of that here at all in this article, at all. Okay, that right there, right off the cuff, is proof that whoever wrote this didn't do their homework. They were just trying to get a quick headline like that, and they're not a real investor, or they would know this. They would understand the nuances. Now, why would Tesla decide to do this, moving away from the Fremont factory to the China factory? Well, let's use some common sense. The factory in China was made purposely for Tesla. They designed it with intentionality, with efficiency, and with an understanding of their own product. The California factory, the Fremont factory, that's an old factory that they refurbish and retrofitted to be able to produce cars. So which factory do you think would be more efficient? Just from that starting point. Okay, second, in general, California is one of the most expensive places, not only in the United States, but in the world, to do anything from labor to taxes to cost of goods. Okay, so even with that, what would make the most sense? To do it in California or in China? Again, one of the most cost-effective places to produce anything in the world. On top of that, keep in mind, for exports, for things to go from North America to Europe, to the Far East, to Australia, it's very expensive. This means ships, car carriers that have to take things for hundreds and thousands of miles away. However, if you could do it from China, which is geographically more advantageous of a location, this means a shorter distance to travel. Again, means you get to save money. So, with all that said, I think what is really missing from this is the fact that Tesla has transitioned from having their export hub being from Fremont to Shanghai. This is a big deal for even bigger reasons. Think about this. Tesla just blew out their Q2 earnings and destroyed their margins. Okay, they had amazing, phenomenal margins nobody expected. And that was exporting from Fremont. Imagine what's going to look like now using Shanghai as the predominant export. That's going to be a big deal. Okay, so let's address the fact that they had only 8,621 cars delivered locally, right, or sales locally. So in order to understand this, and again, I don't expect you to believe what I'm saying, right? You could label me as a fanboy or somebody who's drank the Tesla Kool-Aid, but again, my background is in engineering. So I don't believe in making guesses or assumptions. I let numbers do the answering for me, okay? If the numbers don't say it, then I don't believe it. End of story. And what the numbers show us time and time again for the last more than a decade is that Tesla has a very consistent, repeatable process. Whichever factory they export from, which before this quarter, right, this is the first month ever that it's moved to Shanghai, it was Fremont. And in the first month and in the second month, they focus on nothing but exports. Okay, they don't focus on the local domestic economy, mainly because it takes a long time for vehicles to get delivered to their location when you're exporting. So for that reason, Tesla focuses in the first 2 months of any quarter on all of the exports. On the last month of the quarter, they no longer worry about exports and they focus completely on in the domestic country that they're in. So when it was Fremont, they would focus on nothing but exports, and then the last month of the quarter, they would focus on the US. Now that we've transitioned from going to Fremont for the exports to Shanghai, the roles have reversed. Shanghai now has the first month focusing on external exports versus the domestic sales. Okay, so what this means is that as we progress from August and then into September, we're going to see the local sales grow and grow. Okay, this is a very smart way, a very efficient way to run your business. And that's all this means. This whole narrative of Tesla China sales are plunging, it's just a narrative of FUD. Okay, don't believe it. Don't drink that BS Kool-Aid, because that's what it is. Now, I will say, there has been some, I don't want to say controversy with Tesla in China, but there have been a lot of bad press recently, and that has a lot to do with just lies and FUDs that have happened out of China. And as a response, the government of China has held these people spreading lies accountable. Okay, you may not agree with the Chinese politics, but what is true is that they will not put up with any of this garbage. And so they've cracked down on all these people who are spreading lies about Tesla. Tesla also has a team that's going aggressive in China to stop all of this FUD from happening. So with all that said, I do think that we still need to be calculating our approach and understanding China. I'm not saying that China is as robust as what it should be or what it could be. And a lot of that does have to do with this, controversy happening in China. However, I do think we're pretty much past that. And I do think that things are getting a lot better in China in general. We will for sure know this come the last month of this quarter. That will be where we really get a concrete information on how the business within China is doing. Okay, so be patient. Don't jump to any conclusions until we get to that. That's very important. The last thing I'll say about this, at least with regards to this article, they make mention about the company which makes Model 3s and Model Y, or excuse me, that's not where I want to go. Where is it? Okay, so yeah, so Tesla sales fall. So they make mention that, well, apparently I can't read anymore. Somewhere here, they talk about how they lowered the price for the Model Y and the Model 3. Again, they're not lowering the prices just for a demand thing. I mean, sure, that's part of it. But keep in mind, with a more economic way of producing cars in China, Tesla is able to have a higher margin with those sales. What that means is that Tesla can afford to drop the price of certain models because they're making so much more margin on it. Now, if they can drop the price, that means that they can appeal to a wider audience, a wider total addressable market. Okay, some people can afford a $40,000 vehicle. An exponentially greater number of people can afford a $35,000 vehicle, and so on and so forth. So Tesla is being very strategic in what they do and playing with the game with the margins and the market they're in. Also, keep in mind that within China, they have a certain boundary in order to get their credits for EV vehicles. And so Tesla is also trying to capitalize on that. Okay, that is not just a Tesla being greedy thing. That's also thinking of the consumer. If you can make sure that the vehicle is within the price range for the consumer to benefit from an EV tax credit within their country, Tesla would be foolish not to take advantage of that. Now, the last thing about this, and then we're going to go into my spreadsheet, is keep in mind, Tesla may have dropped those prices a little bit in China, and they may be making standard versions of the Model Y, Model S, but they've also increased the price within the United States. Why? Because demand is so high in the United States. So we have this beautiful thing happening. We are now exporting from China, which is way more cost effective with higher margins. We have arguably going to have growing demand in China because of these new models, the Model Y, Model 3 standard range, that are also going to be more cost effective, reaching a wider total addressable market. And in the United States, where we have insane demand that Tesla cannot keep up with, we've raised the prices. This might be a blockbuster quarter, just like last quarter was, if not even more so when it comes to margins, because we are exporting from China now. Okay, enough with this article, enough with this FUD. Let's dive into the numbers and really see how good of a month we had with made in China vehicles. So let's go ahead and dive into my spreadsheet. All right, so here we have made in China, and this we can see we go all the way back to March of 2020. Now here we have July 21 or 2021. We can see the numbers. So total made in China was 32,968. As far as exported, we've got 24,347. And we can see here domestic sales was 8,621. And then you can see the Model 3 and Model Y split. So let's do a little bit of an analysis here. So first of all, let's start with the total numbers. So we can see that in June is about 33,000, and in May, again, about 33,400. So this is essentially right in line with what we saw for May and June. Okay, Now, at first glance, it might seem like, well, is this really that great? Because, you're slightly under what you had in June and May. Well, keep in mind that month 2 and the last month of any quarter are going to be the most ramped up periods within the quarter. And the first month of any quarter is when you have the least amount of sales or production numbers in general. Okay, so the fact that this is right now month 1 that we're looking at of the quarter, the least amount that you normally have within the quarter, and we are essentially on par with the most number of vehicles produced in the last month of last quarter, I would say is a great start to this quarter. For example, let's look at the first month of last quarter. First month of last quarter, we only had 11,671 vehicles. First month of this quarter, essentially 33,000. Okay, that's a huge jump. That's something that's going to really move the needle moving forward. Now, let's look at it from a quarter over quarter perspective, okay? At the end of last quarter, right, if we had to compare this, we had a total of, call it 30, 60, 70,000, call it 75, 78,000 vehicles, okay? We're already starting off at 32, 33,000 here. So we're already almost halfway to what we even did last quarter. Now, again, none of that's perfect math. Obviously, I'm trying to add this up in my head, going live here, just stream of consciousness. But the point is that this first month is essentially a blowout first month of a quarter. And I think that's very important to understand. Now, if we look at this from a year over year perspective, right? July of 2020, again, only 11,000. July 2021, we're up to 33,000. That's huge growth, right? That's tremendous. So in no way can you say that the efficiency and production of Shanghai is incredible, right? This is a blowout in my opinion. Okay, so let's look at the export numbers. So export numbers, we saw 24,347. Keep in mind, this is the first month, the first quarter where Tesla has shifted to making Shanghai the export factory. We see here the trend, right? In May, 11,500. In June, 5,000, right? Very incremental exports, nothing crazy. And the main reason for that is because it wasn't the main export hub where it is now. And that's where we see this huge jump. Okay, Tesla is staying true to their word about making Shanghai the main export hub. And again, this is going to be, we're going to see this very clearly on the financial statements. Trust me, we are going to see this. It's going to be night and day. It's easily going to be a 1 to 2% margin change. I'd be very shocked if it wasn't even more than that. So if we look over here, we can see the Model 3, Model Y numbers. Again, these are essentially right in line where we've been, especially when it comes to the total for June, which was the last month of last quarter, right? So the most cars sold within that quarter is normally the last month. And so June and May are pretty much the same. And again, July here, we see, again, the same steady pace here. I could almost guarantee you that this next month, August, these numbers will be even bigger. I can almost guarantee you this next month, China domestic sales will be even greater, okay? What we're gonna see is as time goes by, as we get into that last month of the quarter, we're gonna start to see a shift from export sales being up here, domestic sales being here, we're gonna start seeing this, okay? This has happened over and over and over with Tesla when they were delivering vehicles from Fremont and exporting them. So again, these numbers look really good. There is no Tesla plunges in China. Tesla has a China issue. I'm not saying Tesla doesn't have a China issue. All I'm saying is these numbers aren't truly understood by that article. Okay, we have to take into context the fact that Tesla is making a change. Now again, we need to be paranoid. We should always be paranoid. We shouldn't just trust anything or just drink any Kool-Aid, and you should definitely do your own homework research on this. Don't believe me. Don't believe these articles. Don't believe anyone. Believe the homework research you do. But with that said, as we move forward, we're going to see these numbers change. And come September, okay, that's when we'll really know Well, I guess the numbers will come out in October. So I guess come October, we'll know the true state of the China domestic sales. And at that point, then we can have an honest and fair conversation about whether or not Tesla is suffering within the China market. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. I'd be very surprised, especially with the Model Y, the Model 3 standard range, which have dropped the price drastically, with Tesla moving from batteries that aren't iron-based to iron-based battery. I mean, there's a lot of things Tesla is doing that is just right. So that's the gist of it, at least from my spreadsheet. There's really not much more in here. Great month, I think, for Made in China. I want to look at one more article with you guys, and just, I don't always like to pair things with FUD articles to articles that may be slightly Tesla bias. But I think this is a good article, and that's the only reason I'm going to bring it up. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so here's an article from Electric, and we'll keep this pretty quick. So the headline, Tesla turns Gigafactory Shanghai into its new export hub, and July numbers are showing it. So do you see the contrast there in just title? One, Tesla sales plunge. The other one, Gigafactory Shanghai into its new export hub. It's that dichotomy that really makes me feel that there's so much corruption out there, and it leads people to just have this narrative that the media is just biased and not doing the real homework and not understanding. I mean, again, I would say Electric tends to lean towards Tesla EV bullish, or maybe even bias, but this is a fact. I mean, there's nothing about this that makes me think it's FUD in support of Tesla. These are literally the comments from the Q2 earnings call of Tesla. Okay, literally almost verbatim of a headline. And this is what CNBC was completely missing. And this is why people call CNBC CNBS. There's a reason for it, and that's it. Okay, do your homework, CNBC. It's honestly sickening. Okay, so Tesla recently said it has shifted its export hub from Fremont factory to Gigafactory Shanghai. And Tesla's July results in China are confirming that. And we can see here a direct quote. Due to strong U.S. demand and global average cost optimization, we have completed the transition of Gigafactory Shanghai as the primary vehicle export hub. Okay, average cost optimization. This is going to hit on the financial statements. Promise me, people. I promise you. This will. We thought this was a record quarter. We thought these were record margins. This is going to send it to the moon when it comes to margins. Just take a clip of this. Send it back to me if I'm wrong. Blast me, make fun of me. I don't care. Do it, because I'm telling you, this is going to show up. All right? This is going to be drastic, and we already see it in the numbers. So while Gigafactory Shanghai was originally only supposed to produce vehicles for local demand, Tesla surprised itself with how fast it was able to ramp up production at the plant. The automaker achieved an annualized production capacity of 450,000 electric vehicles at Gigafactory Shanghai within 2 years of starting production at the new factory. It enabled Tesla to start exporting vehicles from the factory to other markets, reducing the exportation load out of Fremont factory, which can now focus more on local demand, aka North America, aka the biggest EV market in the world, aka also the market that's about to have a huge tax credit through Biden's new EV plan that he's about to put forth, with potentially $10,000 credit per EV for vehicles, essentially in perpetuity until we get to a certain point of EV sales as a whole country. Okay, in other words, this will be a direct check payment to Tesla, because Tesla is the only auto manufacturer with the ramp right now. Okay, so Tesla's going to get the biggest lion's share of this. So they want to make sure that the factory in Tesla is fully optimized for that. We don't want to be exporting from California right now. We don't want to be exporting from Texas whenever that's built. We want all those domestically, so we can make sure that for every single $10,000 EV credit we get in the United States, Tesla has the best odds of getting it. Okay, that is smart. That is going to reflect in the stock price like crazy. I mean, I don't even know how to say it. Just wait until the day they pass that bill or they get it through Congress. Well, again, you'll see. If you're new to this channel, if you're not sure what's going to happen, we're all about exponential growth. We invest against the grain. This will add, I'd be surprised if not at least $100 to the share. Again, I'm not a stock analyst. I'm just an engineer. But if overnight we can see $100 added to it just over a quarterly earnings, what happens once this EV credit gets passed? And Tesla is the only auto manufacturer in North America making volume EVs. Who else is? The Ford Mustang Mach-E. They can barely get anyone to buy their vehicles. Mustang has declining sales in general as a brand. And have you seen it? It's ugly. It's not a Mustang. And this is coming from someone who owned a Mustang. It was my first car. I love that thing. I only sold it recently. I'm telling you, the Mach-E, not a Mustang. It's hideous. Okay, again, I know, I'm biased. Okay, so let's continue here. So Electric's take here. Be ready for some headlines about how Tesla sales are plunging in China. Hey, what was CNBC's article titled, right? Here's the thing, they might or they might not be. Tesla has always used the first month of the quarter for exportation since it leaves more time to the vehicles to be in transit and still be delivered by the end of the quarter. Exactly. So what people don't understand is Tesla cannot consider a vehicle as sold unless it's delivered to the customer. So even if they produce it, even if a customer's already bought it, until that customer gets keys in hand, it's not considered sold. So Tesla tries to export as much as they can in the first month and the second month so that they have time to get those keys into the owner's hand so that they can consider that car as sold for the quarter. Again, this is big brain thinking, or actually that doesn't even take a big brain. So this is what they're missing. So we're going to see better numbers for domestic deliveries in China in August and even better in September. Again, just echoing what I was saying before. Those numbers are going to be compared to May and June results, and then we are going to have a better idea of Tesla's health in the important Chinese market. In the meantime, there isn't much to worry about. So again, with that said, normally, like I said, I don't like to pit these kind of articles against each other, but I feel like this is a very rational approach. All they're talking about is what Tesla and Elon said within the Q2 earnings, and they're just applying basic common sense. This is how Fremont worked. First month, all exports. Last month, all domestic sales. Okay, as far as China goes, let's be patient. Let's reserve our judgment until we get August numbers. Then we can be a little more critical. But even then, we need to be a little more patient until September hits. Once we get September numbers in October, then if the numbers don't look good, I will be on board with you. All of you people who hate on Tesla, I will agree with you. Tesla might have a China problem at that point. However, I really don't think that's going to be the case. But if it is, I'm here to be honest and unbiased, and I will admit that they have a problem if those numbers are low and not where they should be. All right, so we're going to go ahead and leave it there. I hope this was informative and beneficial for you and kind of helped understand a little bit more about these numbers that were just released. A lot of FUD out there. If you even Google this, Tesla China numbers that just released or anything, it's just nothing but Tesla sales plunge, Tesla craters, whatever, on and on and on. We have to understand the numbers. We have to understand what we're looking at, and that's what true investing is. We're not gambling here. We're not in this for the short term. We're in this for the long haul, okay? We are looking at the bigger picture, 5, 10 years down the road. We're here for 5, 10, 20x type returns. We're investing against the grain, and that means we actually do homework. We're not gambling. We're not day traders, okay? We make real wealth. Okay, so if you enjoy this type of content, help us out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll catch you guys next time.